Back again with another video. Now in this video, y'all, I will be addressing some comments Kanye West recently made. And you know, knowing Kanye West, you're going to have to go down the rabbit hole. So, let's go down the rabbit hole. Now, the comments he recently made, I guess he mentioned something about creating a list of all the people that did you wrong or stabbed you in the back. He said write it down on a piece of paper. You know, he called it a betrayal list. So, you know, I got a lot of people spazzing out on what the hell is Kanye talking about. Here we go again with Kanye. Well, let me break it down. So, as you know, Kanye is a very successful, talented, knowledgeable brother. To the point to where he be seeming crazy, insane at sometimes. But every now and then he'll drop something heavy and it'll have you thinking. So he knows, like a lot of other wealthy people know, that anything that's created or manifested is done in the dark first before it comes to the light. So, you know, thought before action. Now, while most of us go by the general senses, what you see, hear, feel, touch, a lot, if not most of human interaction or manifestation is dealing with the unseen. Like most stuff is more going on behind the scenes than on the stage, if you get me. And a good example of that would be, you may be at a small function or party or whatever, and if you sit back and look, and you ain't even gotta look hard, you'll be able to tell who's hating on who jealous of who's screwing who on the under, you know, all kind of stuff, you know, who's smiling, who facing, who the backstab, all that, who the snake, and etc. You get my drift. So most of the motion is hidden, almost like a game of poker. Everybody got their poker face. You know, everybody is hungry to get further. So with all this in mind, he recommends a betrayal list, what he called it, and to write down a list of everybody who betrayed you. So let's explore that, because that actually can be therapeutic at first, but let's explore it, because at first glance, I know a lot of people, especially religious folk, are going to be thinking it's some old spookism. But if put in proper context, that can actually be therapeutic. Now let me break it down, because isn't it a common saying or goal or recommendation to write down your goals or certain affirmations or whatever to manifest something you want or make something happen in your life? Right. So in the instance of a betrayal list, because it could be misconstrued that, well, hey, if I'm writing down this list, isn't that kind of reliving the experience or keeping it alive in a way? Is it keeping, bringing that to life, so to speak? But nah, because like I said, if put in proper context, it becomes therapeutic as a way with dealing with it, because that starts the process of dealing with it, pinpointing certain trauma or agitation Because again, this is a betrayal list, so this is obviously people who you feel some type of way about. So writing it down, now you ain't even got to necessarily write down what they did to you. Perhaps that may help, perhaps not. Because again, if put in proper context, because it can definitely get mistaken for you writing a list of all the people like a get list, if you know what I mean. And it can be mistaken for that if used improperly, and I don't think that's what he mean. I'm thinking he really meaning as far as the therapeutic value, writing it down, like, okay, I'm gonna write down this is everybody, so whatever happened, it's like a to-do list, and not in a negative way though. And that's how, that's how I look at it. So that's the value I would see in writing down a betrayal list. It's a form of self-therapy. Now again, it can get used improperly and mistaken the wrong way in a lot of ways, or in a few ways. And again, I can hear religious folk thinking it's some type of spookism and not really understanding. Again, like I said, it's highly recommended that you write down your goals, right? Everybody say affirmations. You pray, don't you? Again, everything, and you praying inward. Everything is in the dark before the light. Thought before action. You understand? So control your thoughts. So in the form of that, again, because this is where I think you're going with it, you write it down. You write it down because it sets the gears in motion with dealing with the problem or the trauma. Depending on, now of course there's different degrees on who did what to you. Some issues you can't get a certain amount of clarity. Maybe that person already deceased. So you really gotta quit carrying things that don't belong to you when it comes to that, and that's not easy. But that must be done. So again though, writing it down sets the gears in motion and dealing with it. It really does. It encourages you to deal with it. It pushes you to deal with it any type of way. Now the way you choose is of course up to you. I intend go take a shotgun and go deal with it. But you definitely need to address whatever it is that's got you ill. And me too, because we all ill, and everybody ill. Especially, I don't even care if you're raised in America now, of course. Don't get me wrong, life, and I don't care what era, what country you was born in. I'm sure you had to deal with some type of trauma. So life definitely ain't fair, but at the same time, everybody got that list. So, I'll recommend you to do that. No, I'm not gonna say that because I'm not a doctor or a psychiatrist. But when it comes to self-therapy, again, if used properly, who knows, it may help. Try it and see. Let me know. You understand? But that's pretty much what I make of Kanye saying that. Again, Kanye gonna go down the rabbit hole, and you gotta really know how to filter discern, because if you don't know, you're gonna think you're crazy. And the saying is a thin line between brilliance and insanity and all that stuff. But Kanye be dropping gems, especially when it comes to, again, the unseen. Even years ago when he made the statement about with the beat 808 and all that old stuff. Again, man, all that stuff is true. We tend to think one way, which is funny. Just made me think of this a while back, I guess like in the 20s, like 100 years ago. In hospitals, they used to have, copper doors? All doors was made of copper, if I'm not mistaken. And y'all let me know in the comments. And this was because copper don't transmit or neutralizes bad bacteria, so it doesn't spread disease or viruses or whatever throughout the hospital, because of course hospital got sick people. Yeah, I believe it is copper. But now, of course, hospitals don't, because again, now I ain't trying to go too deep down the damn rabbit hole, but you know, illness is business. It's for profit. You know, that's why you get treated. You ain't trying to get cured, you'll get treated. Even if it's a so-called quote unquote cured for something, more than likely you'll get treated. And it all varies on the insurance and all that, etc. But in the end, it goes talking about that money. But I digress. But y'all let me know what y'all think about that, man. Is Kanye, was he illing on that, or do y'all think there's any value in what he was talking about as far as that betrayal is? This Bad News Brown breaking it down. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe button. I'm up out of here.